Hey Frag fam, what is going on? I hope you guys are all doing well today. Elliot here and welcome back to The Fragrance Well. So I thought of a video series idea I thought would be a lot of fun to make. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to choose the top 2 fragrances from many of the brands that I have within my collection. Obviously, I need a couple of ground rules in order to make this work. In order for me to choose a top 2, I need to have at least 3. So I'm only gonna do this for the brands or houses that I have in my collection where I have a minimum of 3 fragrances. And I'm only gonna do 5 brands per video, so that'll keep the fragrance count at 10 so it doesn't get too convoluted. And also I can actually make it a series. I'm kind of just looking quickly. I think I can make about 4 videos for this, so this is gonna give me some content for a while. And also, I'll spread them out. They're not gonna be all back to back to back, but I figured this would be something fun to do and something I hope you guys enjoy as well, and maybe even something you can do with your own collections if you would like. And also I think it's worthy to point out that I tried not to overly think about which one are the top 2. I just chose 2 of my favorites kind of right there in the moment. It's like, all right, you gotta pick 2 of them. You gotta do it in like 10 to 30 seconds. Just pick 2 of them and live with it. So that's basically what I did. One of these brands, I've done like a complete breakdown in terms of the best to the worst. Whatever I choose today might not match that list because I'm doing it based off of how I felt in the moment, which if I did a list like that before, it was the exact same thing. Your top 1 or 2 or 3 can change over time. So just wanted to put that out there. All right, so we got 10 fragrances for today's video from 5 different brands, and we're gonna go over them right now. But before we do, as always, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you do like this content, and please hit that bell icon and enable notifications so you can be notified when I upload new videos. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so the first 2 are gonna come from the brand of Acqua di Parma. This is a brand that has a wide variety, a very big, extensive catalog of fragrances, but I only own 3 of them. I'll state the one that did not make the list, and that's gonna be Sandalo. Great fragrance, really good sandalwood fragrance, but the other 2 I felt like they edged it out, at least for today. So, first up from Acqua di Parma, this is gonna be Fico Di Amalfi. Acqua di Parma, Fico Di Amalfi. And let me just point out, they're not in any kind of order. If I talk about it first, I don't think it's better or worse than the other one. Just choosing top 2 to keep, if you will. All right, so Fico Di Amalfi, one of the most well-known fragrances from the house, one of the most popular ones. This is a fig-based fragrance. You're gonna get a variety of fig-like characteristics from the scent. You get the juicy, somewhat citrusy element. You get the fruity, creamy element. There is a little bit of the fig tree element in here, maybe the woodiness of the fig tree, maybe a slight dash of the green element you might get from like fig leaves as well. I think there's some musk in here. I think there's some slight watery notes. I think there's also just some general woodiness, but overall you're getting a representation of fig from this fragrance. This is a great summertime wear. Obviously the Bleu Mediterranean line is kind of known for being warm weather fragrances, and again, this is just clearly the most popular one, and I am always here for it. It's one I always don't mind breaking out for a nice warm day. Wonderful fig fragrance, very nice, juicy, calming vibe. I love this stuff. So once again, from Acqua di Parma, this is Fico Di Amalfi. All right, and the second one from Acqua di Parma is going to be Quercia. Acqua di Parma, Quercia. We went from the 50 ml to the 200 ml bottle. Big size difference between the 2. Quercia literally translates to oak, and I'm assuming that's an Italian word for oak. I don't know for sure, but it translates to oak. I do know that much. So this fragrance is inspired by the concept of oak wood. You're gonna get some very zingy Italian-like citrus from this, kind of lemony, if you will. I think there's some slight aromatic notes in here, and then there's kind of this kind of smoky, sweet, woody element in here that's kind of meant to, I think, represent the oak, but also represent what oak is also used for. Obviously, it's something that's heavily used in making whiskey or liquor. It's used in cooking elements. I would say that this one is kind of an ode to all of that without necessarily representing all of that. There's nothing in here that suggests like barbecue wood or anything like that. I don't really get much of a boozy vibe from this, but I think the overall picture you get from this scent is meant to just paint a picture of the beauty of oak wood. And the stuff just in general just smells really, really good. So once again, from Acqua di Parma, This is Quercia. All right, guys, the next brand we're moving on to is going to be Amouage. I've got, if I'm not mistaken, 12 Amouage fragrances. I'm not going to list them all right here. I do believe every fragrance I had in my Amouage ranking video, I still have. At this point, I haven't added any extra ones. I'll link that video up to the top of the screen. I think it's to this side, if I'm not mistaken, if you want to check that one out. All right, so first one from Amouage is going to be Interlude Man. Amouage Interlude Man. Now, if I remember correctly, this actually was my #1 Amouage fragrance for the very reason I'm about to state why I chose it right now. This is the fragrance that pretty much made me fall in love with the house. I think it was a blind buy for me, but this fragrance still just blows me away as to what it is. It's just this awesome collection of incensey notes, resinous notes, woody notes, leathery notes, and a little bit of smokiness, and just kind of this overall savory touch to the scent. It's just a magical fragrance to me. I still have yet to really come across anything that is of a similar style but smells like Interlude Man. This fragrance still stands on its own to this point. I don't wear it that often, because from a usefulness standpoint, I feel like it's a scent you simply wear if you love it, which I do, but at the same time, it doesn't always match every occasion. But if I feel like wearing Interlude Man, I just break it out. But that being said, I always want this in my collection. Even if I were going to dump a number of Amouages, Interlude would not be one of the ones on that short list. But I love the house of Amouage. That's the reason I have the most fragrances from that house at this time, is because I just think this is one of the best overall houses out there. And Interlude is just one of those ones that captured me from the beginning and still does to this point. So once again, from Amouage, this is Interlude Man. All right, second one coming from Amouage is going to be King Bleu. Amouage King Bleu. Let me tell you, I struggled between this one and Jubilation 40 as the second choice for this video series. I ultimately just decided to go with this one, but honestly, it could have been either way. But I said, nope, make a decision, don't overthink it, and King Bleu won out. When I think about what Interlude was for me the first time I smelled it, frankly, King Bleu was the same thing. There was no warming up to this scent for me. The moment I smelled it, I thought this was special, and I said, once I can get it at a better price, not full retail, I'm gonna jump on it. This one here is definitely an oud scent. It's very much a pungent oud fragrance. Gonna be more of a barnyard kind of smell, hay-like, woody barnyard, not really fecal overall in my opinion, unless you just spray the crap out of it. That might come out. And it's blended with some kind of tart citrus, I think black currants in here. And also has some leathery notes as well. And on top of that, you've got this great sandalwood patchouli combination, some ambery notes as well at the base of the fragrance. It just smells awesome in my opinion. I would wear this at any time. Most would kind of call this a cool weather scent. I'd wear it when it's hot. I don't care. I would just lower the sprays. But the stuff is just this perfect blend of all of those elements in my opinion. To me, it does almost have like a cooler weather blue scent vibe to it, sort of, but also blending a non-westernized oud in a way that is perfect, and I just absolutely love this fragrance. So once again, from Amouage, this is King Bleu. All right, guys, the next house that's going to be featured is going to be Arabian Oud. I think I've got like 7 or 8 or 9 from that house. I actually haven't counted. I need to check again, but I've got quite a few now, so I'm also not going to list all of those off. But another one where it was kind of difficult to select a second fragrance. The first selection for me was a no-brainer. That's going to be this one here, Royal Oud from Arabian Oud. Royal Oud, also called Oud Malaki or Malaki. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that, but I think that's the Saudi Arabian name for it. Royal Oud, I guess, is an English name for it. Anyway, this fragrance here is very simple but super elegant, super high quality. It's basically rose, oud, and musk. I think the oud in here is Cambodian oud. I'm not sure what form of rose in here. The rose is just very, very smooth and kind of neutral, kind of I think captures a complete picture of a rose, if you will. The oud that's in here could be seen as, if you spray it heavy, it can have a little bit of that funk to it, slightly animalic, but overall it's kind of sweet and woody. And the musk is there to just kind of bind everything together and add a little bit more of a softness to the fragrance. I think adding to that awesome wearing experience that this fragrance has. This is by far the best rose oud fragrance I currently have in my collection, and so it was an easy choice in terms of picking it as one of the best 2 Arabian oud fragrances I have. So once again, from Arabian Oud, this is Royal Oud. All right, next one coming from Arabian Oud is going to be Diwan. Arabian Oud, Diwan. So I wanted to pick this one as the second choice, mainly because I actually wanted to have some contrast to the rose oud fragrance that is Royal Oud, because I was grappling with some other ones that kind of feature similar things, and I said, actually, let me just go for something different. And also, this fragrance is simply amazing. This is a great everyday wear fragrance that any guy can rock for any occasion. It's kind of fresh and spicy and woody overall. Very clean scent with a hint of sweetness to it. I believe there's notes like cardamom in here. I think there's like some black pepper. Again, I mentioned it was kind of fresh and spicy. Some citrus elements in here as well. And again, kind of this musky, woody base to it that's just very, very clean and easy to wear. It smells amazing. Great performance on it. I really am kind of blown away by how good this fragrance is, because it's just one of those ones, and I remember when I first smelled it, I had the same thought process. You can wear that for whatever. Any guy can wear that easily, and it could be a signature scent, a singular signature scent for the common man, to be honest. So once again, from Arabian Oud, this one here is Diwan. All right, guys, we're gonna move on to the house of Bond number 9. I've only got 4 from this house, so I will mention the other 2 that did not make the cut. That's going to be Nomad and the Scent of Peace. So first one coming from Bond number 9 is actually one of my latest additions to the entire collection. That's gonna be Wall Street. Bond number 9, Wall Street. This is actually one of the, I don't know if it's the first Bond number 9 I got my nose on, but it's one of the earlier ones, and I knew a long time ago I actually wanted to add this to the collection. I just kind of slept on it for a while, but now I have it. A couple of things to note for this fragrance: it is polarizing. Why? This uses a heavy dose of ambergris. Matter of fact, in my opinion, when the fragrance dries down, that's pretty much all you're left with is this really heavy ambergris. So it's going to be very, very marine, kind of deep ocean, salty kind of smell, and that's just not something a lot of people are a fan of. So just to point that out there. But when it first starts off, it's basically this kind of fresh, slightly spicy, slightly aquatic fragrance that very much has the vibe of a scent from the early 2000s and late 90s. I think this came out in 2004. So it's very much that style of fragrance with its own little twist. The entire inspiration, as far as I know from this scent, is it's kind of meant to smell like money. And I do feel like it does kind of capture that essence in a weird way through the first half of the wearing of the scent. But once it completely dries down, it's basically ambergris. I think I've heard someone say before that Wall Street is actually close to some bodies of water, and that was also part of the inspiration for the scent, because it's meant to capture the entire area of, you know, that part of New York, if you will. So I don't know if that's 100% accurate or not, but all I know is it definitely has aquatic features, and it gets very marine once the fragrance dries down. But that being said, I don't know. I love the scent. I never had to warm up to it, but I will openly admit that dry down is not necessarily my favorite, but I can still stomach it. So once again, from Bond number 9, this is Wall Street. All right, and the second one from Bond number 9 is going to be Lafayette Street. Bond number 9, Lafayette Street. Let me see, I'll go ahead and spray this because atomizer's probably dried down, or dried off, should I say. But yeah, this is one of the most popular newer releases, or at least relatively newer releases from Bond number 9. This is kind of a scent that you can use for just about anything, but in a very modern sense. It's very, very brisk and fresh in the opening. Note breakdown says apple. Do I really get a smell of apple from this? No, but I do get a characteristic of apple, crisp, refreshing, that sort of vibe. I think there's bergamot in this. It's very, very floral at the heart, just kind of a collection of florals. And then once the fragrance dries down, you're kind of left with this combination of vanilla, tonka bean, and ambroxan. So very, very likable, dry down to the scent DNA. And honestly, that dry down is what ultimately made me say I want this fragrance when I first tested it a long time ago. I sprayed like 4 fragrances on my arm, including this one. And as the dry downs started to happen, the dry down of this one just really stuck out for some reason. And it really pulled me and captivated me. So I said, I'm going to get this when I get a chance. And that's why I'm featuring it on the video, because I think overall with the other scents I wear, this one is probably the one that really still captivates me in terms of that dry down. And also just one you can very easily use. And also, actually it's springtime. Overall, I think the fragrance is a spring fragrance, but it still kind of works for any season. So once again, from Bond number 9, this is Lafayette Street. All right, guys, the last house that is going to be featured in this particular video is going to be Chanel. And I've got 5 Chanel fragrances. The ones that were not featured, all pretty much a part of the Allure line. It's going to be Allure Homme, the original. It's going to be Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme, and it's going to be Allure Homme Sport Superleggera. Those are the ones not featured in the video. First one from the exclusives line is, I think that's what you call it, is going to be Le Lion de Chanel. Chanel Le Lion de Chanel. So this one here is a very rich and deep amber fragrance that I absolutely love. Loved it at first sniff. It's going to be very heavy with labdanum, so it gives it kind of this spicy, ambery feel. There's a little bit of citruses in here to kind of get just a little bit of brightness to the scent, and it's also a really good patchouli sandalwood combination mixing with the very dark ambery nature of this scent. I love this stuff. Relatively simple, but very, very powerful, very, very bold and statement making. I'm a big fan of fragrances like that, so that's why this one was a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. Matter of fact, both of the Chanels I picked were a no-brainer, and you'll see why in a second. But yeah, if you like really kind of dark, heavy amber fragrances that are not overly sweet, this one might be worth checking out. So once again, from Chanel, this is Le Lion de Chanel. All right, final fragrance for this video from Chanel is Bleu de Chanel Parfum. That's Bleu de Chanel Parfum. And this one, just like Le Lion, was an easy choice in terms of picking a top 2 from my Chanel fragrances. As far as I'm concerned, Bleu de Chanel Parfum is still one of the best designer fragrances on the market in terms of completeness and what you can get from a fragrance. Utility is at 10. You can use this for anything. The smell is at 10. The craftsmanship of this fragrance is at a 10. This is a masterpiece fragrance. In my opinion, I do think this is the best version of Bleu de Chanel. While I do think Bleu de Chanel, any man can find one of the 3 versions, find a signature like scent in one of the 3 versions, but for me, it's the Parfum. No questions asked. Has the citrus elements, a little bit of a aromatic cleanliness, kind of a slight smokiness there in the background, and overall features the woods, the cedar sandalwood combination that Chanel came up with. At least that's how I like to describe it, because I think Chanel has their own blend of cedar and sandalwood that they use in a lot of their fragrances. I think it's just kind of pushed to the max at this fragrance, and that's why I love it, because I like that blend that they have. But yeah, this was an easy choice for me, no questions asked. So once again, from Chanel, this is Bleu de Chanel Parfum. All right, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Hopefully you enjoy this concept. If you want me to keep making these videos, feel free to say so. Again, I was kind of going to do it anyway, but if there's general interest for it, maybe I'll do it a little bit faster. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of this concept. If you've got some fragrances that you have more than 2 of in your collection and you want to pick 2 and list them down below, feel free to do that. Same with these brands. If you got like a different 2 you want to share from the brands I featured in this video, feel free to do that as well. Would love to see what you guys have to say. So thanks again for watching all the way into the end. I really do appreciate you all. Please remember to be well and smell well, and I will see you in the next episode of The Fragrance Well. Have a good one.